What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. We're hitting you guys with a live stream today because everything right now feels so time-sensitive. The NFL Scouting Combine is taking place. Last night, the defensive linemen did their drills, defensive linemen and linebackers. There were actually some standout performers that we are going to go over in the coming days as we continue to go through our pre-draft prep. But right now, we want to talk about the big swirling rumors surrounding the New York Giants and their desire to make a trade. Now, the Matthew Stafford trade doesn't sound like it's going to happen, barring something unexpected at the last minute, which I will go ahead and say, unexpected, expect the unexpected, right? When we have these kind of negotiations and unlikely trades to happen at the combine and in free agency, it sounds like it's not going to happen. All of a sudden it does. So I'm still kind of holding my breath here with the Matt Stafford trade. Even though the Giants are considered the underdogs according to reports, it sounds unlikely that they are going to land Stafford. I still think there is at least some possibility, but we're going to go ahead and react to that news. And also, all the reports are indicating if the Giants do miss out on Stafford, they have a plan B. They're going to pivot and try and trade up to the number 1 overall pick in the draft and take their quarterback there. So we're going to go ahead and dive into this stuff and react with you guys in the live chat. What's up, Justin? What's up, Christian? We're going to field your questions as well, so make sure that you're engaging with us in the chat. But other than that, we've just got a lot to discuss, Alex, so let's go ahead and dive right into it.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, this whole Stafford thing unfolding, the combine today, really things getting started at the combine. We heard Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward both speak. I just watched a 10-minute video on Cam Ward speaking about kind of his story, where he comes from, what motivates him, all these different kind of aspects of what makes him Cam Ward, and how difficult it was. He was a 0-star recruit coming out of high school. I didn't know that. Couldn't get anything to save his life. So finally getting to Wazoo, and then obviously getting to Miami. He was asked a couple of interesting questions, Anthony, and I kind of want to start there before we dive into other stuff, because they were good questions asking. People were really upset about him leaving the bowl game after halftime. They asked him, I think Chris Sims asked him, did any teams mention that to you? Did any teams, in addition to that, did any teams mention your sidearm kind of your throw style, like the way that he throws the football is a little bit different than the traditional way, like Sanders would or another quarterback? He has a lot more of a slide arm sling. They asked him, like, have teams asked you about these things? And he said, no teams asked me about leaving the bowl game early. Regarding the sidearm throw, he said teams actually really like it because it allows him to get the ball out really fast. So that kind of decisiveness, that kind of fundamentals, his mechanics are, interesting. Like he said that a lot of scouts have liked what he's able to offer there. Josh Allen has a very similar sidearm profile in that sense. So I do think at times, but Josh is obviously he can do a lot of different things. He kind of goes up because sideways he's like a baseball player. But that's what I like about Cam. He was a baseball player. So I do think that was a pretty cool piece of information, the way that he throws the balls like as if he was a shortstop trying to turn double play. That ability to get through his motion quickly and decisively obviously speeds up his whole process, which I think is important, because we watched Daniel Jones. His process was very long and drawn out. He cocked it back, he patted the ball, he was late on those throws. Everything was out of alignment, out of timing. I think that when you look at guys like Sanders, guys like Ward, their timing is pretty solid in the fact that they're able to get rid of the ball fast. I know that Sanders, one of the cons is that sometimes he's a little late. I don't see that all the time. I think, Anthony, you also agree, like, he's pretty solid when it comes to those things. His mental attributes, processing, it looks solid at the college level. Obviously, you don't know what's going to happen in the NFL, but Cam Ward's, like, the way he spoke, and both these guys, really kind of polar opposites, Anthony. Like, Sanders was really confident, like really like I'm a cheat code, it's because my name, the media says these. He was very, very, a lot of ego there. There's a lot of ego, but I also think a lot of confidence. Not a bad thing to be a quarterback who has a lot of confidence. Cam Ward was a lot more conservative, a lot more reserved, really was kind of just flew under the radar with his comments. How do you see these totally different personalities? I think they both fit with the Giants in terms of having that star mentality for New York. If you're that good, you're going to thrive. But also being kind of a workhorse, like film grinder, like doesn't say anything, like Daniel Jones kind of was, also does work here as well. So obviously there's a little bit more pressure for someone who like expects those big things and says big things. But I do think they both play in New York.
Like Daniel Jones was here, can be successful. It wasn't for Daniel Jones, so I don't know. I mean,
it wasn't. More so just the work ethic.
If we're I don't think we can knock either one of their work ethics because both of them work really hard and oftentimes work together. In fact, last night I saw a video of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders after the first day of the combine training together with Xavier Restrepo at a nearby field in Indianapolis. They both have elite work ethics. They both are really hungry to be elite quarterbacks at the NFL level. And obviously they have their different pros and their different cons, their strengths and their weaknesses as prospects. And it's up to the general manager who selects each of them to figure out where they fit best and whether or not it's a fit for a specific franchise. But in terms of personality and work ethic, I do think that they both fit with the New York Giants in many different ways. Now, it might not be a one-to-one fit for either one of them, but again, it's never going to be that way. You're never going to just dream and your perfect quarterback appears in reality. The thing that you said about Cam Ward's mechanics, listen, he's not mechanically sound. Like, he does have some flaws in his mechanics. However, he gets the ball out quick. Like, the ball flies out of his hand. It pops out. Yes, he's got an unorthodox throwing motion. However, that allows him to sling the ball a lot quicker and get the ball out of his hands at a faster rate than most quarterbacks. And for Shedeur Sanders, he's got great footwork. However, he does have some wasted motion in his throwing motion. He does pat the ball sometimes when he shouldn't, but there are times where he doesn't pat the ball and he just rips that thing across the middle of the field and he makes NFL throws. They both do it. It's all about consistency. When you're evaluating quarterback prospects, you're looking for consistency. You know, when you're looking at a guy like Joe Burrow, every single game in that historic season that he had, I believe in 2020, he was great, consistently playing at an elite level. That's why he went first overall, and that's why he was a slam dunk. You don't get that same level of consistency with these guys like Shedeur and Cam, but that doesn't mean they can't be great quarterbacks, and that doesn't mean that they aren't good prospects. You didn't get that level of consistency with Josh Allen in college. You didn't get it with Patrick Mahomes and many of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. So consistency is everything, but consistency is something that can be adopted once you get to the NFL under proper coaching. And like I always say about the right situation, you need situation in order to be a successful quarterback. So I think that it's very fun looking at these two quarterbacks, though, in Ward and Sanders, and contrasting them because they are very different in playing style. They're very different in personality, but they also have some overlaps in terms of their prospect profile and also the fact that they train together and are such close friends. It's all very exciting. I think the two paths that they take throughout the NFL, it's going to be a lot of fun throughout their careers to compare, contrast, see who's had the better careers, see who's done better in this regard and worse in that regard. They are going to be a lot of fun, but you know, when you're talking about these quarterbacks, you're only talking about them as a potential trade up option for the New York Giants because that seems to be the way that they're heading. But before we get to that, Alex, I think we should talk about the Matthew Stafford situation. So just to give the update, and then I'll let you give your take, but I'll give the update to everybody viewing. The reports that have come out since last night into this morning basically boil down to this. Both the Giants and the Raiders have offered Matthew Stafford a contract worth around $90 to $100 million in fully guaranteed money across 2 seasons. So pretty much $50 million per year, which is what he wants, pretty much fully guaranteed. That's the offer that the Raiders and the Giants have offered him. However, the Giants are considered underdogs to land Stafford if a trade happens. The Raiders seem to be the team leading in the clubhouse. They've made a more compelling offer to Stafford, apparently, and seemingly a more compelling offer to the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the most recent reporting indicates that neither one of them is likely to land Stafford, though. It sounds like after going through the motions here, the Rams have skipped out on a lot of what's going on at the Combine to return to Los Angeles and hammer home a deal with Matthew Stafford and try and get something done. Now, as I said earlier, there's always a chance that something goes wrong, which is why I think it's still worth discussing. At the last hour, the final minute, shot clock waning down, maybe the Giants, they send the Godfather offer and they do land Stafford. So it's still worth talking about. The dream isn't dead until it's under the ground 6 feet. So we're going to go ahead and discuss it, but that is the update here. Most likely he's staying with the Rams. The Giants are probably the third likeliest team to have Matt Stafford playing for them in 2025. Alex, what's your reaction to all this news? And then I want to share my long take that I have about the Matt Stafford saga.
Yeah, I mean, listen, from day one, I think, you and I both said the Giants were being used to figure out what he was worth. The Rams wanted to see what he was worth financially, and Stafford wanted to see what other teams were willing to pay him to create that market. They did not necessarily know, the Rams, what his market would be. So now they do. It's 2 years. It's $100 million guaranteed. That's really what you're looking at for Matthew Stafford at 37. And he's still a very, very good quarterback. And, I want to make it very apparent. I love Matthew Stafford. Awesome. I think he's probably the most underrated player at the quarterback position the league has ever seen. He was disrespected for so long. The problem is the Giants, And I get the idea that like you want to be respectable, you want to win some games, you want to get to at least a decent place in progression. But there's a couple of things here. One, there's a narrative going on that the Giants don't think this quarterback class is good, which is why they're trying to get Matthew Stafford. I don't buy that. I think that the Giants view Matthew Stafford, or not the Giants, but Joe Schoen and Brian Dable view Matthew Stafford as the best opportunity to save their asses. That's how I feel about Matthew Stafford. I think pivoting to the best quarterback in this draft class, whatever guy they have conviction in, is the alternative because it's the right thing to do. But Stafford gives them the best chance to get much better overnight and get much better consistent quarterback play to help them win some games and save their jobs. But the truth is that I don't even like this team is still probably the worst team in the NFC East with Matthew Stafford. We have about 6 players, in my opinion, that are you could even label above average on this team. You know what I mean? Like 6 starting players that I think might be above average on this roster. They are 1 injury away at multiple positions from catastrophic results. Their depth is next to none. They've drafted poorly in the mid rounds. Their free agent acquisitions have been underwhelming, to say the least. Like this team is not prepared to get a Stafford and win 10 games. The Rams barely could pull that off with him. So the reason I say this is like the Giants have worse coaching, a worse roster, and a worse offense. And by the way, Stafford's going to be, going into a year where he does not know the cadences of this offense. He has years under his belt already with Sean McVay's offense and a system that relies on his strengths. It's not going to be a one day, like he's going to step into and be elite. You know what I mean? He's got to learn that offense. I think he'll get to it pretty fast. Don't get me wrong, but I think that there is going to be some sort of, he has to kind of get, a whole new offense. Curve. A small learning curve, sure, but the Giants 2 years, that small learning curve is wins and losses. And even with Stafford, I only think that we win 7 games. And winning 7 games with Stafford is still a fireable offense to me for Joe Schoen. Like you spend $100 million to win 7 games, and you're going to have to backload that contract because you don't have enough money to spend right now. So you're going to have to take that money and push it into years 3 and maybe even a 4th year in void years. Or rather just guarantee dead money down the future. And I get like the cap's increasing, but it's just like unnecessary to me when we could just get a 1-year bridge, even a 2-year bridge, who's like, okay, like knowing that he's on his last leg and probably could turn the page, and that rookie quarterback taking over and having no dead money in the future. When if you have $20 million in dead money in 2027, that's equivalent to paying a well above average player. You know what I mean? Like that. And I get you could just keep backloading. And you can do that. But I just don't think it's necessary. Like and plus you have to give up draft picks, probably a 2nd round pick for Stafford at this point. I mean, it's kind of a moot point because I don't think that he's available. And by the way, like he doesn't even want to come to the Giants. Like the Giants just showed their whole hand just to get used for this market to unfold, in my opinion. And now everyone knows, not that they didn't already know, how desperate we are. So, our whole hand was just shown, and like now we know they're going to move up to 1 and like get the guy that they want most likely. But now the Titans know just how desperate we are, and they're going to force us to pay even more than we probably might have if we just kept our mouth shut and do the right thing instead of letting the Rams use us to figure out what Stafford's market really is.
Dude, you gotta calm down. I don't think that we're gonna get bent over by the Titans because of this. This is like everybody knew we needed a quarterback regardless, and we were going to be aggressive in the market. I don't know how this changes anything in terms of our draft position and trying to trade up to the 1st overall pick. The price is still going to be the same.
It is, but now they know Joe is trying to save his job. Now they know that
everybody knew that already, dude. Like that's always been the case.
But yes, but Joe said, I'm not going to make a reactionary move to save my job. He said it like publicly, and I get everyone
he said
probably
that to the media so that fans wouldn't kill him. Who cares? You think GMs across the league bought that? You and I didn't even buy that bullshit.
But now we know that he was willing to give $100 million to Stafford, and he was willing to give up
going rate for a quarterback.
I know, and he was going to give up valuable draft picks to go get him. So now the Titans know he was going to give up draft picks and these valuable picks. Now we know that his last option is to go and get that quarterback that they have conviction in. And they knew they were just about to give up these amount of picks for Stafford. Now they can ask for that and more because now it's the only option on the board for them. It's the only option.
There's still other options. They could still sign a quarterback in free agency and then punt on taking a quarterback, or they could sit and pick at 3 and try and get one there. They could take one in the 2nd round. It's not the only option. Joe Schoen himself said, if you want to take what Joe Schoen said at his press conferences as Bible, he just said at his combine on Tuesday, at his combine presser on Tuesday that there are other quarterbacks in the class outside of Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders that he likes. So it's not the only option. I don't see how this narrative is buying into that the Titans are going to take advantage of the Giants because the Giants had an interest in Stafford. What about the Raiders? Are the Raiders, I actually just don't see where you're coming from with this one.
The Raiders aren't going to move up to 1 because why would the Titans move back to 6?
Right, exactly. So why would the Giants get fleeced in a trade if that is the only landing spot for the Titans to trade down?
Because the Browns now could go and get Cam Ward, and they can move back 1 spot, get the best player on the board, and still get draft capital. The Giants and Browns now are probably competing for Cam Ward in this instance, right? So the Giants are going to have to overpay because they're going to create a bidding war between these two teams, regardless of the Stafford thing. But that is now how this is probably going to end up shaking out if the Browns do like Cam that much. And now we're hearing, obviously it could change tomorrow. Like there's the rumors going up and down, but I just don't think that showing your whole hand, and we're hearing it from everybody. Like, I just don't really feel as though the Giants had to show how interested they were. For weeks they've been planning the Stafford move, apparently, according to Paul Schwartz. What does that do for them? What positive does that do for them?
They could land him. I mean, it would have been positive if they made the trade. They wanted to make the trade. Yeah, but it's okay. So you think that they just got used, but they also think like they got really close. They just negotiated a contract with Matthew Stafford, agreed to terms on a deal with Matthew Stafford. They obviously weren't just showing their hand and getting used. They legitimately thought they had a chance of trading for him.
But that's why I'm so concerned, because I don't think they ever actually did.
Clearly they did. If you're following the reporting, there was a moment here where the Rams were seriously considering trading Matt Stafford. That's what all of the top insiders were saying. Last night there was a change, but until then there was a legitimate moment where the Rams were considering doing it.
But then we hear the Raiders are even more favorable than the Giants. Even if they were going to trade him, the Giants never really had the best chance.
That doesn't mean that they should just stop trying. They were already trying. I'm pretty sure that the Giants were negotiating. I'm pretty sure the Giants were negotiating with the Rams before the Raiders ever even got involved. So I don't see how.
I mean, regardless, I don't even feel like Stafford was the right decision, even the right move to go for this team, because, and this is something that goes back to when they decided to keep Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. We said it. We really are afraid of them with their backs against the wall, taking an unnecessary, or at least you have a differing opinion on this than I do now. But I still believe that they kept Joe, and my biggest fear and our biggest fear at the time was that they were going to make a big move for a quarterback that was going to be a play to save their jobs, not what was the best interest of the long-term success of the Giants. I don't think that Stafford acquiring him is in the best interest of this team long-term. I think it's a reactionary shotgun move to slap a Band-Aid on what is one of the worst rosters in football. And if the Rams, they were really, really good towards the end of the year. They have a tremendous coaching staff. They had some injuries in the offensive line. They still managed to pick it up and almost beat the Eagles. I don't see how the Giants are going to do that in the NFC East when they're probably not even a wild card team with Stafford. And I get your opinions change because you think you want to be good before you're great. And I do agree with that, but I'm still on board with getting a bridge to be good. I just don't think giving up premium draft capital is the right move. And I also don't think you're going to end up drafting a quarterback this year and getting Stafford, because if you get Stafford, it's a move to win now. You're going to try. You should go BPA in that instance, right?
They need to win now. We knew that this
Joe
was going to happen.
To.
That hasn't changed anything. The Giants, they kept everybody in place because John Mara wants to win this season. And let's face it, dude, we want them to win this season, don't we? I don't really care if it's Stafford, if it's Jesus Christ himself, if it's Cam Ward. I want to watch the Giants win games in 2025. I don't want to just punt on this year and then look ahead to 2026. Whoever's playing quarterback, the team better win some fucking games, dude. We've won how many games in the past 10 years? The least amount out of every team in the NFL. They should be trying to win games. We shouldn't just be building for the future. They should be trying to win games. You can't just completely sacrifice your current state of affairs right now for 2027. I'm not sticking around. Who knows if I'm going to be alive in 2027? I want to see this Giants team win some goddamn games. There is no time like the present. Go win some football games.
Sure, but you don't need Matthew Stafford to win football games. You can get a good bridge that's going to win you some games and not be an embarrassment. You know what I mean? Like Russell Wilson won you enough games. What's the difference between 7 and 6 wins, 8 and 7 wins? You know what I mean? Both of these guys are not making the playoffs for the Giants. Stafford is not making the Giants a playoff team. Wilson is not making the Giants a playoff team. What's the point?
Is that 100% guaranteed that you're not making the playoffs with those guys? Do you feel like there's 100% chance that they're not making the playoffs? Or can I ask you this? Would you, if you had to bet on one of the two to take it to the playoffs, Russell Wilson or Matt Stafford, who's more likely to take it to the playoffs?
For sure, Stafford. For sure.
Okay, so that's exactly the line of things that the Giants have. They're going to try and make it to the playoffs if they can, because that's their jobs and that's what they're meant to do. So they might try and bet on that.
Sure, but I mean, we're talking like a 10% chance and then a 15% chance. You know what I mean? Like Stafford is a great player, and I love Stafford, but the Giants right now are so far behind where we thought they would be. And we're talking about 3 of their last 4 first-round picks are all on the bust label right now. You know what I mean? We're talking about most of their mid-round picks over the last 3 years are nothing. We have offensive linemen failing to develop. We have cornerbacks we spend premium draft capital on. They just changed the scheme on them overnight when that wasn't their strength. We've done all of these things to go backward. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel as though this team is positioned in the next 2 years to win a playoff game. And I think that with the NFC East, the strength of it, it's going to be really difficult, which is why I'm good with a bridge. I would love a bridge, but I think that keeping our draft picks instead of think about it. I'll lay out this, and I think this is an interesting opinion, right? Joe Schoen is on the hot seat objectively. If they go and get Stafford, and they gave up a 2nd round pick to go get Stafford, and they gave up a 3rd round pick, they gave up a whole bunch of valuable draft capital for Stafford. They give him $100 million. That contract is still you're still paying that money out for 3 years, and he gets fired. That new general manager, new head coach, whatever, is inheriting a massive contract that is going to limit their cap health. I know the cap's going to explode, and obviously things are fluid in that relation, but they're going to make more signings this offseason too. So they're going to have an older quarterback with a ton of draft picks from the previous regime that really aren't developing, a whole coaching staff they have to churn through now, and also financial cap situation, lack of flexibility they have to navigate as well. And that's where, as a fan, I'm that scares me because I don't trust Joe Schoen to put together a competitive roster. I'm afraid of that. Right?
You know why I don't trust him to put together a competitive roster? Because he doesn't draft well. So why not use that draft pick to trade for somebody? He's going to miss on it anyway. The likelihood is he's missing with that 2nd round draft pick. Why not just throw it for proven talent?
Which is why we should have fired Joe when we had the
chance.
Yes,
of course. We should have fired Joe Schoen, but we can't go retroactively. We have to look forward. We can't I get it. And I obviously understand. I was maybe the biggest advocate for firing Joe Schoen throughout the season. I was willing to dive to get him fired. Seriously, I wanted him fired that badly because I was afraid of this. But this is the reality that we're in, and we can't retroactively look at the past and say, well, that's why we should have done that. That's why we should. Okay, what do we do going forward now? So we've had this whole discussion on Stafford, Alex. I haven't even gotten the chance to give my take on the Stafford thing. We've just been arguing about it. So let me read out the entire Stafford take that I have, and then I want you to respond to it. After I'm done saying the whole thing, we'll go ahead and we'll continue the argument, so to speak. So let me go ahead and pull this up. And just to clarify, yes, I've been against Matthew Stafford the entire time. Today, I had a change of heart. After doing some more research last night and this morning, this is my official take, and I'm going to read it word for word so that I don't get it wrong. Overnight success from a rookie is not something you can bank on. The Giants are so bad, they need to be good again before they can be great. Stafford helps achieve that. Let me explain. Everyone says the middle is the worst place to be in the NFL. Me personally, I find that to be completely untrue. All of the best teams were in the middle before they reached the top. The model is to have a bridge quarterback that makes you good, then drop a good rookie quarterback into a good program. Look at the Chiefs and the Bills. Both acquired good veteran quarterbacks, Alex Smith and Tyrod Taylor, and went to the playoffs. After building a good team, then they drafted franchise caliber rookies. Now they are powerhouses. People look at Jaden Daniels, CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow, and see overnight success and think that's the norm or the model. But the Bills/Chiefs/Eagles model is the model. You can't bank on overnight success. So you build a good team and program, then drop a rookie in there. That's also what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. The problem is it's so hard to be good with a young quarterback, and by the time you are good, you have to pay them. So you lose all your roster building flexibility. That's what the Panthers tried to do when they banked on an overnight success with Bryce Young, the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. It's more likely you end up paying Trevor Lawrence $200 million to be mid than getting a Jaden Daniels level success overnight. So trading for Matthew Stafford would essentially be like when the Chiefs traded for Alex Smith, but Stafford is even better. Smith made the Chiefs good enough to win for years, but they couldn't get past the wild card round. Then they drafted Mahomes, put him in a good program, and now they've won Super Bowls. So the Chiefs traded for Smith, drafted players to win now, made the team better, then sold the farm for a quarterback. Couldn't the Giants do the same in 2026-27? The Chiefs gave up a second, third, and first for Mahomes, selling the farm for him, but they only did that because they found success, because Smith allowed them to become a good and competent team and built a full roster that could properly nurture a rookie quarterback. And the Bills did the same thing. So did the Ravens, the Eagles, the Packers, the 49ers with Brock Purdy. All of them had quarterbacks that they dropped into good programs to spark their success. So, in my conclusion, you have to be in the middle before you can get to the top, and banking on an overnight success like a Stroud or a Jaden Daniels is basically banking on the impossible, and it's why we have teams like the Panthers, Jaguars, and Jets who are just perpetually ass. You are better off becoming a good team than drafting a quarterback after you've already become a good team than banking on that rookie quarterback to carry you and make you a good team. The rare exceptions to the rule are not the models to follow, is essentially my point. Build a good team. Once you have that, go all in, get your quarterback. So yes, it took me a minute. I wasn't on the Stafford train, but after doing that kind of research and looking at those situations, I think that Stafford can be akin to an Alex Smith. You trade for him, you get good for 2 years, then you sell the farm, you get the rookie quarterback after you've already built a good roster that can actually nurture that rookie quarterback, rather than banking on a Cam Ward or Sanders, Jackson Dart, whoever, to carry your franchise for the next 4 years. So that's my full take on it, Alex. I'm happy to hear your rebuttals and maybe do a little bit more arguing here, but I do see that I've got mixed responses from the chat, which is what I love. I love the controversy. Keep bringing it on. The whole Stafford saga has been controversial, but let me hear, of course, your response to my take.
So my response is kind of this. If the Giants had a new general manager and a new head coach and went and traded for Stafford right now, I could understand that perspective, because yes, theoretically you could say, okay, the point of this is we're going to draft a quarterback. We're going to have this veteran here. We're going to use this as an opportunity to rebuild and then transition over to that rookie. Or we're getting this guy now with the intention, we know he's getting older. We know he's going to retire eventually. We're going to draft somebody next year, maybe. We'll trade up. We'll figure it out. And that's the intention of the rebuild. The problem is it's not as seamless as it sounds, because Joe Schoen's on the hot seat, right? So if Joe Schoen ends up going, and the plan here, as you suggest, could be to get good and then get great, Joe Schoen may not even be here to see it. So another GM might come in and then change the entire rebuild model, change the entire thing. So that's where I get a bit like, I don't know how realistic it is to think like if it was the same management for 3 years, yeah, I could see how that would make sense. But I don't think Joe Schoen is surviving the next 3 years. And a new general manager, new head coach is going to come in and rebuild the way that they feel is the best way to go about it. So in a perfect world, yeah, I think that does make a lot of sense, Anthony. I think that's a good take. I just think we're too up against the wall, and Joe Schoen is too up against the wall to think about even rebuilding with a young quarterback. He's thinking about, how can I save my ass now? And if by the graces of God, I do manage to sneak by with another season, then maybe we can apply that strategy. But right now, it's all about winning to make sure that they don't get fired. And they want to maximize the roster that they've built over the last 3 years. And unfortunately, it's not a good roster.
They've built shit. Not.
They have exactly. So like this is what Joe Schoen is saying. Can I get a quarterback that plays consistent football, that shows that the roster I built is not as bad as it actually looks? Right. That is what his mentality is right now.
All right,
and I don't necessarily think that it's as good as he thinks it might be.
Okay, let me reframe some of it, though, and just try and get your take in a different perspective. Maybe he's not trying to win right now. Maybe he's trying to buy himself a little bit more time to build the roster a little bit better and then get a quarterback in 1 or 2 years to build around. So instead of going, like we're talking about it like as if the Giants are trying to win a Super Bowl if they trade for Matt Stafford. Maybe we are being a little bit too negative here. Maybe Joe Schoen is a bit more realistic than we give him credit for. Maybe he realizes that trading for Stafford only makes them somewhat competitive for a couple of seasons and then gives him time to build the rest of the roster, become good, and then draft a quarterback. Can you not see that angle and perspective? Because that's where I'm coming from now. I don't think he's swinging for the fences trying to win a Super Bowl in 2025. Let's be real. The Giants just went 3-14. But if he's swinging for the fences to win 6 or 7 games, buy himself another 2 years of roster construction to then get his rookie quarterback, I mean, that kind of makes sense. And that might be his best course of action to take here. And honestly, as a Giants fan, I can't hate on it. I want to watch Malik Neighbors catch 10 touchdown passes. Matt Stafford's going to help him do that. The Giants will objectively win more games next year if Matt Stafford is a quarterback. So if the goal is just to buy time to build the roster before trying to land your Josh Allen or Mahomes or whoever the fuck, man, count me in. I'm for it.
So I'll use kind of what you said before as the counter and saying, like, if he hasn't gotten even close to building a competent roster in 3 years, I don't think he's ever going to get there in the next 2. You know what I mean? Like, the draft misses, the free agent debacles, the letting star players go, the letting leaders and captains go. The reason that, in my opinion, the reason that they want Stafford is partially obviously to save his job, but to make the Giants a desirable destination to join again, because we're watching it unfold right before our eyes. Nobody wants to come here. He would rather go to the Raiders, and the Raiders are a bad football team too. They just overhauled their whole front office. He would rather go to the Raiders is what we're seeing right now in live time via reports. He'd rather go to the Raiders, get paid, than go to the Giants and get paid. So we're looking at a situation where the Giants are not a desirable destination right now, guys. Getting Stafford makes them relatively desirable. That is where I'm like, oh crap. Like that realization, Anthony, is what scares me the most, is that realizing that we are probably going to strike out on every top free agent because they do not want to come here. They don't want to come to this mess, right? That's why I'm scared. And, drafting a rookie quarterback is all good and great, but it doesn't convince players to come here just yet because they haven't proven anything in the NFL. Now everyone wants to go to the Commanders because Jaden Daniels is the truth, right? Everyone wants to go there, right? So that's kind of where I'm like, damn, like it's a tough situation. The reason I don't want to get Stafford is because I don't want to play the game that we'll go and trade up for a quarterback in 2 years or next year when there's a probability that the teams that are the worst in football need quarterbacks and they're not going to trade out for one of those top guys. I don't want to play that game. The Giants have a chance right now to get one of the top 2 quarterbacks in this draft class right now to like this year. I don't want to gamble and saying that we're going to win 8 games next year, miss the playoffs, and have to trade first round capital if they're even willing to move back for one of the quarterbacks in another draft class. You can't think like that because it's not realistic. And like hoping that we have the ability to move up is really freaking risky. And to be quite honest with you, it's a move that a desperate general manager makes that has no other choice. You know what I mean? Like that. And that's where we are. He's a desperate general manager that has no choice but to try and save his ass now and pray to God the cards fall his way in the future.
Well, boom, we can end this live stream and end the entire conversation because the Rams just locked Matthew Stafford into a long-term extension. I am so happy that we didn't pre-record this. I told you we needed to do a live stream. Good I was call. 100% right.
Good call. Good call. Very, very good call. Very good call. Yeah. So we got used. We got used to create the market. But I mean, it's the same thing with Lamar Jackson. You made the point. It was a great point. They used us to figure it all out.
I get it. I attack it from every angle. I had takes on why it works, why it doesn't work. I try and look at it from all over the place and give it a full analysis for all of the viewers and Giants fans who watch us and tune into us. That's why you guys join us every single day. So, yeah, that pretty much wraps up the entirety of this conversation. The other half of the conversation that we'll dive into probably tomorrow is, of course, the New York Giants now probably pivoting to trading up to the number 1 overall draft pick. So we'll go ahead and talk about that soon because that seems to be where it's heading now. And we'll talk about whether or not we think that's good or bad or somewhere in between. I think it all depends on price point, same as it did with Matthew Stafford. Yeah. That's always also what it's going to boil down to.
Yeah, and also the prospects. Like, if you like Sanders, if you like Ward, do you think it's worth moving up? A lot of discussions to have about pivoting. And now we all saw the Giants' hand is they were doing a pretty good job, actually. The Giants were doing a pretty good job in the sense that, like, we did not know what their plan was. Now we do. Now everybody knows. They want to move up to first overall. That was the pivot. Everyone's reporting it. Everyone and their moms is saying the Giants, what they're hearing at the combine, if they missed out on Stafford, they were going to pivot and trade up to the first overall pick. So now we know what they were going to do. I mean, to be quite fair, I don't really care about that because they probably would have done it anyway. But now they get to decide who their quarterback is going to be. Is it going to be Sanders? Is it going to be Ward? And Anthony and I have our opinions on this. We'll save it for, tomorrow's episode because I do think like really fun discussion. And this is where we see what the future looks like for the Giants, man. This is just a crazy offseason, man.
I like that we just like argued with each other for 30 minutes. For no
it was a quick, it was a quick 30 minutes too. Like it went by fast.
Like I could see you putting your arms up. I was getting under your skin. You were getting under mine. That was fun. Good stuff. Good times here as Giants fans. Before we wrap this up, I do just want to pull up this super chat from Christian and just say thank you so much. I wanted to get to it earlier, but again, Alex and I were too busy sparring here, so had to delay the bringing up of the super chat. But thanks so much for it, Christian. You said the fact that Joe is trying hard to get Stafford already shows his mentality, just trying to win now to save his job. Should have got fired. Give me Cam. Give me Cam. I've had a draft crush on Cam Ward since March of last year. I've wanted him all throughout the draft process, even before the draft process. And yeah, I do think Joe Shane should have been fired, but that's neither here nor there. This is the reality that we unfortunately live in, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe the Giants are trading up to number 1 for Cam. If so, I will definitely be celebrating with Alex and not fighting with Alex going forward.
Can I also just say that you want to hear how much of a I'm not even going to go that direction. Stafford took less money to go back to the Rams than he would have got from the Giants and Raiders. So yeah, Giants can't even overpay to get guys right now. They can't even overpay, man. I thought they would have to overpay. They can't even overpay to get these guys. It's unfortunate. Free agency is going to be a hell of a journey for the Giants trying to convince players to come here. I really am nervous that we're going to really have a tough time. It's going to be an interesting offseason, guys. Another one, like year 6 of it.
Oh, it's going to be interesting. Every year that we've done this freaking podcast, man, it seems like we had that one brief moment where things were fun, 2022 and 23 offseason, and then immediately turned into a nightmare when they signed Daniel Jones to that contract extension right after a playoff win. So it's pretty much been 5 years of suffering on Fireside Giants. But you know what? One day, Alex, it's going to be 5 years of greatness. And I live for that moment. I am here every single day because the suffering will all be worth it in the end. I have to keep telling myself that and believing that. But alas, Matt Stafford no longer going to be a potential option for the New York Giants. We got one more last-minute buzzer beater super chat that we will pull up and then wrap up the live stream. Mike says, yo, Alex and Anthony, I'm glad the Giants are going to pivot to the draft. I feel that signing a free agent plus drafting a quarterback is the right move for the New York Giants. Listen, I do too. I think that the Giants should go ahead, sign a Russell Wilson or whoever for a year or two, and take Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward with a top 3 pick. That's going to be the path forward. That's what they have to do now. I think we can pretty much let the Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter dreams die out because the Giants are going to have to draft a quarterback. That's inevitable now. We'll just have to see how much they give up to draft that quarterback.
Yep. Appreciate you, Mike. As always, I do think that it's going to be, they're going to move up. I'm like pretty confident they're going to move up. The Giants, their hands exposed. The Titans know. I really wonder what that draft capital is going to look like. I mean, my projection right now is this year's 3rd and next year's 2nd. That's my current projection. I don't know how anything, like even the Browns wanting Cam Ward, if they want to move up, I don't know how that influences what the Titans do. But listen, if I'm the Titans, honestly, most teams, Anthony, I think I have Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter ranked 1A, 1B. Like either way, you're winning that trade. Like rather, either way, you're winning the draft. If you get more draft capital and walk away with one of those two, the 2 best players, like the 2 blue chip guys in this draft class, you won. Like you are a winner. And the Titans, if they're not totally sold on these quarterbacks, that's what they're going to do. And the Giants are going to pay them for it. Talk about a big swing. This is the swing you're going to see from the Giants. And Stafford was the hope and prayer that they could save the jobs of Joe and Dable because he would bring a level of consistency that they have not seen. Now they're going to have to pivot to a bridge, and I really don't know what that looks like, Anthony. Russ or Rodgers or Fields or whoever the hell. Would Darnold sign a 1-year deal? I honestly, call me crazy, dude. I don't think Darnold's going to get a multi-year mega deal. I really don't. I don't think after the whole Daniel Jones thing, I don't think any team's looking at Darnold and is going to give him $120 million guaranteed. Like, I think he might end up sending a 1 or 2 year deal. And if that's the case, I would consider that if I was the Giants. I would do a 1-year deal for Sam Darnold and I'd overpay for it as a bridge. I would consider that as a bridge option instead of going. I mean, listen, it's not my preference.
Let's save this for tomorrow's live stream because I could really talk about this one. I could go for a while about Sam Darnold.
Do you agree or disagree on that for a 1-year deal?
The Giants should not get involved in that at all. Like,
not even for a 1-year deal?
No, nothing.
Why not?
No.
Just very brief, right? Very brief. Very, very brief.
The amount of risk. I mean, listen, you're talking about with Darnold, if you do sign him to a long-term extension, you're basically signing the Daniel Jones contract the year after you got out of the Daniel Jones contract. But if it's a 1-year deal, and what if he implodes on that 1-year deal, then you still suck, and we have to go through another 3-14 season. I really mentally can't do it.
So
I just can't.
okay? So like, let's say who's your like right now? Stafford's off the board. Who's your preference at bridge?
It's Russell Wilson.
Okay, it's Russell Wilson. Okay, and I'm
Yeah,
cool
it's
with
always
that
been
too.
Russell Wilson.
I'm
Yeah, it's
totally
Russell
cool with
Wilson
that.
or it's Justin Fields, because if you're signing Russell Wilson, the expectation is you're trying to win some games this year. If you're signing Justin Fields, the expectation is you're trying to get that rookie into the starting lineup as soon as possible. If you're signing Sam Darnold, the expectation is you think you might have a franchise quarterback and you want to build around him. That's like the least desirable option to me. That kind of cap straps you in a way that the other two options don't. So the Darnold one, and also there's no way Sam Darnold is coming back to New York after what he went through with the Jets personally.
Fair enough. That's fair.
But
Russ is my preference. I know a lot of people don't love Russ, but he's a veteran. He's a future Hall of Famer. Like, this is a guy that's going to make your team a lot better. So I don't know. Giants have a lot of big decisions to make, dude. And they're going to have to guarantee one of these bridges a starting job for next season, even if they draft a quarterback. So what?
There's so much news. Do we keep this going?
What's happening now?
The Giants are investigating Aaron Rodgers as a veteran quarterback option per Adam
Who said
Schefter.
that? I told you this was possible the other day, dude. Everyone said I was an idiot. Everyone said, no, you're an idiot. I was like, bro, I feel like this is a possibility. Actually, my takes have been pretty solid lately. Some of them, not all of them, but like maybe 50-50. I'm hitting 500 right now, which is actually pretty good. It's a Hall of Fame career in the MLB. But I said Rodgers. I don't hate a Cam Ward, like, aside from Rodgers' political stuff and his ayahuasca usage, I do think that Cam Ward and Aaron Rodgers is a pretty good combo. I think that Rodgers would be a pretty solid player for Cam to learn behind. Just learn the game, like just study the film, be in that room. Rodgers is one of the best ever, in terms of reactionary throws, finding that balance and being a hero ball guy, but also playing under structure. His quick release. He has that sidearm tendon. Like, I feel like it's a really good match personally. That's just my opinion. I also like Russ for that role too, though. And I don't really care about mentorship, to be quite honest. More so just learning the tendencies and cadences.
I don't either. And listen, the thing with Aaron Rodgers is, like, I had somebody on Twitter was like, oh, why don't you like Rodgers? You're saying blah, 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 this and that. All of his teammates say he's a great teammate. And yeah, I understand all of those things are true. But listen, man. If the Giants, I get that the Jets media market is intense too, because it's also New York. The thing is here that the Giants is way more intense. And if Giants fans had their quarterback release a midseason documentary about the drug trip that he went on in absence of a training protocol from the team and the organization, Giants fans might not live. They might actually blow up the world. Jets fans were angry, I'm sure, but Giants fans might legitimately drop a bomb on the planet that ends in an apocalypse. So I don't want to see that happen. Plus, I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is good enough to warrant all of the bullshit, and I don't think that he makes them that much better of a football team. He is an above-average quarterback still. I don't know. At the end of the day, we talked about it the other day, Alex, and I said if the price is right, I'm for it. But that's the one more than anything that comes down to price for me. With Justin Fields, with Russell Wilson, there's wiggle room in that price tag for me. If it's Aaron Rodgers, there is absolutely a limit for me. I do not want to overpay that guy. I definitely don't want to pay him long-term, even past the 2025 season. That's one that I think the Giants need to be really careful with.
It is. But, 1 year, Rodgers, Cam Ward, you move on. The money's dead. It's gone. It's done. Honestly, I wonder what Rodgers gets in the open market. It's nowhere close to what Stafford's getting. Maybe like a 1 year, $25 million deal. You can push some of the cap into next season when you have more of the money than you need. Look, there's other options here. There's Russ. I mean, clearly, this is interesting though. Like, why Rodgers over Russ? And I think the reason for that is because Rodgers probably has only 1 year left. And I think that Russ probably wants a multi-year deal. That's why I probably think that's happening. Rodgers is fine taking a 1 year contract. And for what it's worth, guys, yes, Rodgers is not the same player he once was. But if you watched Jets games last year, the Jets were running one of the worst offenses I've ever seen. They had a horrible offensive line.
Whose fault is that?
I don't know. They're
Aaron Rodgers, because he forced them to hire Nathaniel Hackett, bro.
Well, that's fair, but you can't. He doesn't have that leverage anymore. Even when they fired Hackett, though, it was.
Oh, you don't think he has that kind of leverage?
Not right now.
Just watch the Giants, bro. Watch the Giants give him that leverage.
If they do that,
are you kidding me?
Oh God, if they do that, I don't know, man. This is an interesting one. Obviously, I prefer a guy like Russ, but I think that this Rodgers is a one and done option for them. And I think that's probably why they would pivot there. And he's experienced, right? Like it's interesting. Listen, if they got Aaron Rodgers and from a football only perspective, Aaron Rodgers and they draft Cam Ward, I am going to be happy. I'm happy with that actually. So that's just kind of how I feel about it. And I don't know. And listen, yeah, glazing Cam Ward all year. I mean, it's like what, 2 months. So yeah, I guess so. But
I've been glazing him for a full calendar year since last March.
Full calendar year.
I started shooting.
Exactly. So, listen, we both like Cam Ward a lot. No reports have been out about Cam Ward. We haven't really heard any about Sanders recently either. But yeah, like the attention for the Giants. And here's the thing, Anthony, what I'm starting to think is that like everything that we've heard about the Giants, it isn't a smokescreen. It's all real because everything we hear about them somehow comes true. I'm getting a little, I'm getting a little concerned.
You want me to explain to you why that is? Because I understand what's happened to the Giants, why all of their sources get out. Look at the top media market insiders in football. Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, Mike Garafolo being probably number 3 in terms of insiders. Mike Garafolo started on the New York Giants beat. Adam Schefter is from New York. Ian Rappaport is from New York. These guys are as plugged in with the Giants as anybody else. Like they are in those buildings for lack of a better term. Like they have people inside of the Giants building and they always will. Therefore, the New York Giants are never going to be able to hide anything that they do. They can't smokescreen. They can't lie. Everything's going to get out. One reporter or another is going to get that information because of the way that the New York media dominates the world. And that's just the reality of it. So, yeah, you're right. Like everything leaks with the Giants and it's unfortunate, but that is just the reality. And the Giants just need to get better at living with it and handling it and making better decisions for their football team.
Yeah. Everything that happens in that building is instantly public knowledge. It's really bad, actually, because we can't hide a single thing. Like everybody knows. I mean, now I'm fully convinced, and I like Cam Ward the most. That's the guy I would want. I'm convinced the Giants are taking Sanders now because everything that we hear about this team is factual. Every single smokescreen is real. So I think they are going to take Sanders now. So I guess we'll have to start, coming around to that reality, unless they save the best for last and they pivot to Ward all of a sudden. But I don't even know anymore, man. I can't tell what the future of this team is going to be. But yeah, they're yapping up there. They got rats and moles all over the place. And remember when they said we're gonna figure out who's leaking all this information, and like that didn't stop. Clearly, like everyone knows everything. They've been talking. And here's the thing, though, Anthony, is like, Diana Rossini just said that they've been talking about Rodgers all week at Indy. Like why? Why does everyone know?
All right. Let me tell you one thing though. And I don't usually like to have strong opinions on certain reporters or others. Diana Rossini, because I was doing that Jets show throughout the regular season, she gets a lot of shit wrong. I'm going to be honest with you. Yes, she gets some things right, and she definitely has some sources inside of the Jets building. She also has sources inside the Jets building that were feeding her bullshit on purpose. And that much was proven throughout the regular season. So I don't know. Take everything that she says personally. I do with a grain of salt. But, she is technically a Jets reporter. So her having insider knowledge on Rodgers would make sense. So maybe there are some legs to this thing.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. If there is Rodgers Jets connection, who knows? But it seems like she's not the only one that's reporting this.
I mean, Adam Schefter said it too. So clearly there are some sort of like I said, this is the question that I have for you though, Alex. Rodgers is not a free agent. Like we keep talking about him like he's a free agent. He's under contract with the Jets. Yes. So
they want to move him, right? So like,
but they're probably going to release him. But what if the Giants, if the Giants trade for Aaron Rodgers? I don't know how I'm going to sleep at night.
You can't give anything of real value for him. What is his contract?
It's got to be like a late condition. Dude, he makes over $20 million a year this year. And I think he's got like,
let me see,
void years that are worth like a shit ton.
I don't think you inherit that dead money though. They probably keep most of that dead cap hit. Let me see. So 2025, he has a $23.5 million cap hit, $49 million in dead money. They probably would take on the majority of that dead money. $23.5 million for Aaron Rodgers is a good deal though. I would easily pay him that amount. I think that if they were to acquire him, it would have to be for like literally nothing. Like it would have to be like literally just minimal just to get it across the board. Like the Jets get just the bare minimum, like a 7th round pick. That's kind of how I would visualize like that actually making sense. I think they probably, like the Jets are going to release Rodgers and then he'll go and sign a free agent deal because they already told him that he has no future with the team anymore. So that is an interesting one. But yeah, I do think that they would probably cut him. I don't know, man. The Giants, like, they just have to find a bridge and then draft a quarterback. Like that is, I don't even care who the bridge is, to be quite honest with you. Like someone that's going to keep you relatively competent. I just think like it's really, my focus is on whoever we're going to draft, not really the bridge so much. So that's kind of my perspective. I don't really care if it's Rodgers. I don't care if it's Russ. Don't care if it's Justin Fields. Don't care if it's Jameis Winston. I don't really care where the bridge is. Just someone who's going to be one and done. That's all I care about. But the thing about Joe Schoen is that he has to get someone that's going to win him some games. So that's where we face a little bit of a problem where like what I want doesn't really matter. It's what Joe needs to save his job. And like he needs the best possible bridge available.
And you know what, though? If I have to bank on any of these quarterbacks in the rookie draft class winning games in year one, though,
probably Sanders.
It would be Shedeur Sanders.
I mean, and that's been our take, Anthony. Like, I think that Sanders is going to be a better rookie than Cam is. I think Cam will be better long term, but I think Sanders will be a better rookie. The thing is, here's my take though. I don't think the Giants, whatever quarterback they draft, I don't think they intend them to play that much. You know what I mean? So that does it matter then? You know what I mean? If they don't intend to play them. So that's the question.
I don't know. They might intend to play them. I think they have to. At some point, that guy has to play this year if they're losing games, And
I know if Andrew Thomas goes down again, like our offensive line's in shambles and injuries start to pop up, and then that guy's probably forced into a job anyway.
Shedur's used to it.
Fair enough. Like it's interesting.
Razor, thank you for the super chat. We did see this. We started the live stream pre-Stafford news, and now we're finishing it post-Stafford news. So everybody got to watch all this. It was good timing. It was kind of bad timing at the same time. I don't know, but it's probably made for a pretty good, entertaining live stream, I hope. So I don't know. We've gone over our time limit by 20 minutes. So I guess we'll just wrap it up at an hour mark at this point, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. We'll talk more about tomorrow. We have a lot to get through. Obviously, we're doing 30 minutes. We're stopping. Yeah, I should have known that wasn't going to happen.
Now I have to change my my thumbnail and title for my Bleacher Report live stream tonight because it was going to be about Stafford. So, whoops.
Well, there you go, man. Yeah, things happen so fast. I think the live streams are probably better for this anyway, just because we do like
live streams are about to become regular on this channel as we get closer to free agency.
For sure. But anyway, I think we got through a lot. Reacted to it live, so I think that tomorrow's discussion will once again be about the quarterbacks, probably.
As always, usually is. So more quarterback talk tomorrow, guys. Stay tuned for that. I'm excited. I'm excited for everything. This has been a lot of fun this offseason. It's been really hectic and kind of annoying at times, but it's certainly been fun, especially when Alex and I hop up on a live stream and just start arguing with each other in front of 150 people. That was a blast. I had a great time with that. And I'm sure you guys enjoyed it too. So we'll plan on doing that again soon, especially as we debate whether or not the New York Giants should go up to the first pick and how much they should give up for that. We'll see. It's all going to be a fun discussion. So stay tuned to the channel. Make sure to leave a like if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode or a live stream or anything. And hey, we're also looking for help. We are expanding Fireside Giants, and we have go over to our Instagram. You can see the post and read about it. We are seeking an intern, a video editor intern for Fireside Giants to help us optimize our content, especially over the next couple of weeks and months leading into free agency and the NFL draft. So if you're interested in that, go ahead to our Instagram, click the link in our bio and apply. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. So internship, join the team, Fireside Giants, expanding, making our roster better while Joe Schoen makes the Giants roster worse. That's how we move here at Fireside Giants. But yeah, appreciate you guys as always. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants, and we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.